So let's have a look at modulation and how to add life to a mix. We have here something made by my colleague, which is Room 323. He's a super talented producer that uses the mothership concept. If you want to learn more about mothership, you can have a copy of a free download on my website. Super useful to create music and also really useful if you want to build an album, especially a conceptual album. So look into that. In the meantime, he made me a loop. And with this loop, what I will do is I will show you how to add some modulation and some life to it. So this loop is pretty cool, but if we let it go for a while, we'll see that it gets really repetitive. It feels like it's the same. And if you look at all the channels, everything is in mono. There's nothing wrong with mono. It's actually really good for making a good impact in a club and to make sure that it's heard on all kind of sound systems. But if you want to have a bit of richness, you will need to open certain elements and make sure that they sound proper in stereo mode. That way your mix will sound more rounded, more open, more alive. And we'll add some modulation to just give life over more than a few seconds of the loop. Because if you want to make a really successful song, you need to build a loop that you can listen to for a very long time. And if you do, then you know you have something solid. But the trick to have a loop that lasts for a long time is just to make sure that it always changes through time. And how to make sure that it changes is by adding modulation to certain effects that you add on the channels. So let's go one by one and see what we can do to give them a little bit of life. So first of all, I'm going to go get some modulator. I don't know if you guys use this collection section of Ableton 10, but it's really amazing. So for instance, I just put all my compression and saturation under the purple color and the EQ in the blue, and the yellow one I was starting to put some other things, but I'm not done with that one. Sound design is here, and in the favorites what I've put is I've put the envelope follower, and I should also use the LFO. The main reason why I put them there is because I use them all the time. So the envelope follower, that's the other one from Live 9. I would suggest not to use it. Nothing really wrong with this, but it just doesn't do the job that I want it to be doing. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to remove these two and I'm going to make sure that I have the right one. So I'm going to go in Max for Live. I'm going to go into the envelope section. I'm going to open the ones that are into the audio effects. And this is the one I want. So this is the one that comes with Ableton 10. So why do I have the other one? It's because I migrated from Ableton 9 to 10 and I have like multiple instances. I should delete them actually. So this is something I will do, but I thought it was good that you guys see that you could run into the same problem. So just make sure that you have this one as these colors, and this is the one that I know is going to be working properly. So I'm going to go with the clap one, drop this. And as you see, I already put a chorus and compressor on the clap. The chorus is a type of modulation itself. It moves the element that is coming in, as you'll see. Right now it's in mono. It gives a bit of opening, and that's because it goes in stereo. But I would like that to move a little bit. So I want that to be kind of reacting. So there's two things I can do. The envelope follower, if you look at here, the envelope follower, just to explain quickly if you don't know what it is, it's basically listening to the sound that is coming in, and then it creates an envelope. So we see the clap here happening. It's very low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn up the gain. So this is what the clap looks like. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to play with the rise and fall. And then what I can do is I can map this to, let's say, the wet dry. So what we see here is interesting, maybe not really something that you can really tell right away, but you can tell that because the clap is coming in a certain way, it's going to be reacting and adjusting the wet dry in consequence of what's happening here. And what you see, this image, this line, is just the reaction of how this is going to be modulated. So by playing with these elements, this is going to be modulating in certain ways. So if we look at other envelope followers that we have here, I know I told you not to use them, but let's quickly have a look. This one does kind of the same thing. Yeah, it does the same thing. One thing that I like about this one is we can actually do it so that it does the opposite. So if I put it this and I map it to, let's say, the threshold, now I inverted the signal. So these are two different things that it can do, and I know for this example, maybe not the most relevant one, but let's have a look with, let's say, a reverb. So I'm going to remove this, and with a reverb it's going to be way more obvious. So for instance, I'm going to map this to the decay time. And this is what we call a gate reverb. So a gate would do the same thing, because the gate is basically an envelope that follows a signal, and it, like it shuts down the volume of the signal that is coming in, depending of the parameters that you've used. So this is, it's pretty cool. I find that on each channel I'm going to use one envelope, and the other thing I'm going to use is an LFO. The LFO, you see I have a bunch. Let's find the right one. Maybe I'll find the right one. There we go. So this one, I'm going to be mapping this to the wet dry. I'm going to remove this. So as you see now, because this is not synced to the beat, it never is always the same thing. We can hear that something's happening, but it's not, like it keeps changing. And if I want to really blur the lines, what I can do is I can map this, for instance, to the rate so that it changes a little bit. So we can have a look, but I'm going to go really careful. if I wanted sync, I could go like this. So that's one way to do it. And to me, the combination of using multiple envelope and an LFO is a really great way to just change a lot of things that is happening. So if I come here and I do the same thing, I'm just gonna drop them here. And on this one, this is hi-hats, of course. I'm gonna be just using a utility. And again, I can use like maybe a reverb, but I'm gonna use it really subtly. So to do that, very subtle. So we have some kind of stereo, but still it's not too much in your face. So I'm going to lower this down. And we see that it's following the hi-hats coming in. So I'm going to move this and I'm going to put this to the diffuse. And the envelope follower here, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to try to play a little bit with this. So I'm just going to remove this other thing and whoa, okay. So that's probably not what I want exactly. It's not really congruent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that and I'm going to put it to the width. And that will go after the reverb. That's going to be opening a tiny bit. As we see, it's just stretching a tiny bit. One thing for modulation that is also really fun, in case you've never explored that, it's the autopan. Of course, as it says, it's pretty obvious what it does because it's panning. You know, we could use the LFO and do this on that, and then we would have an autopan. But where I'm getting at is the phase. So if I put the phase here, then it adds movement. It's ducking depending of like the speed. So I could put it like that. It's changing the flavor. It's changing the groove. So now this is the trick. Whenever I have something that if I play with that parameter and I find that playing with it is fun, I should automatically map it to the LFO. If I want to make things fun, then I can even go random with that one. So now it's going to be changing, but never the same thing. It's not going to be following like the sinus wave that we were seeing. And if it feels too much, then I can remove this, of course. Or I could even put it in wet dry, but I kind of like the fact that it's just going all over board. There's like a groove that is changing now. It gives the illusion that it's a drummer and it's playing with the velocity. So if you look into the MIDI effects, there's one that is called velocity. It kind of does that. It's really nice because this velocity thing has also a random to it. So if I take it and I bring it here, there's a random aspect here. And one thing that I really love, it's in the Max for Live, there's a humanizer. If you're using MIDI, I find that these two should always be on every channel. They make a difference. So I'm just going to go really, really low. So there's already a difference between a very stern and repetitive hi-hat and one that is really moving. Of course, I could be tweaking this for quite a while, and we eventually would find the perfect formula to have something that feels really organic. But you know, as you see, already just doing that makes a huge difference. So I could be sort of creating different groups, and then after that bring that to other channels, and then everything would be moving. And then it would be about finding the right combination of whatever feels good as a whole. So that will be it for this today's video. And we have other series coming about movement. I have way more tricks coming up.